Before Hercules, before Perseus, there was another hero who stared down a monstrous, fire-breathing beast. He was the original dragon slayer of ancient Greece, a man destined for greatness who would ride a creature literally born from a monster's blood. This is the story of Bellerophon, the hero who tamed the legendary Pegasus, and how his greatest victory led directly to his ultimate downfall. Now, his name doesn't carry the same weight as Hercules or Theseus, and there's a good reason for that. His story is one of the most profound and cautionary tales in all of Greek mythology. It is a tragedy that explores the dizzying heights of glory and the crushing depths of a fall from grace. A brutal reminder that the line between being a hero and trying to play God is a dangerous one to cross. In a world run by the whims of the Olympian gods, moral heroes were the superstars of the age. Poets sang about their incredible feats, and their stories were told for generations. But while a lot of those tales end in glory or a blaze of honor, Bellerophon's story is a chilling testament to a different kind of ending. It's a story about a hero who won every single battle against his enemies, but lost the war against himself. This is the tragic saga of a man who flew closer to the sun than any other, not on wings of wax, but on the back of a divine winged horse, only to be swatted out of the sky and forgotten by the very gods who once had his back. Part 1. The Prince of Corinth, the Hero and His Flaw. Our story starts in the wealthy city-state of Corinth, a bustling hub of commerce and power. This is where a young prince named Hercules lived, a man who, according to the poet Homer, was blessed by the gods with beauty and all that is lovely in manhood. But his family tree, like a lot of heroes, is a little murky. Officially, he was the son of King Glaucus of Corinth and grandson of the notoriously cunning Sisyphus. But other whispers claimed a more divine origin, suggesting his real father was Poseidon, the mighty god of the seas and creator of horses. This double heritage would define his life, the mortal ambition from his grandpa Sisyphus, and a deep, almost magical connection to horses from his divine dad Poseidon. From a young age, Bellerophon, name he'd get later, was a master horseman. He was so good it seemed like he was born for it. He was charismatic, brave, and had a burning desire for fame. But all that ambition was shadowed by a reckless streak, a tragic flaw that would send his life down a dark path. The first disaster struck him out of nowhere. The exact details are lost to time, but the result was clear. He accidentally killed a man. Some sources say it was a local nobleman named Bellerophon, and by killing him, Hercules earned his new, infamous name, Bellerophon, the slayer of Bellerophon. More tragic versions claim the victim was his own brother. Whatever the truth, the act stained him with blood guilt, a kind of spiritual pollution that only a foreign king could cleanse. He was banished from his home, stripped of his titles, and his new name became a constant reminder of his crime. This was the first major turn in his tragic story, a hero cast out, forced to find redemption in a world as unforgiving as the gods watching from above. He traveled to the kingdom of Tyrants, to the court of King Perseus, to be purified, having no idea his trials were just getting started. Part 2. A Queen's Deceit, the Inciting Incident. At the court of King Perseus in Tyrants, Bellerophon was welcomed, and the king performed the sacred purification rituals, washing away the stain of his past crime. For a while it seemed like Bellerophon had found a safe haven. But the very things that made him a hero, his godlike good looks and noble charm, soon attracted the wrong kind of attention. The king's wife, Queen Athena, became obsessed with the handsome exile. She saw a passion in him her husband lacked and started trying to seduce him. Bellerophon was in a tough spot. He was a guest, bound by the sacred laws of xenia or guest friendship, which demanded total respect between host and guest. Sleeping with the queen would be the ultimate betrayal of the man who gave him sanctuary. So, being a man of honor, he firmly rejected her. Scorned and humiliated, Queen Antea's desire twisted into venomous rage. If she couldn't have him, she'd destroy him. She ran to her husband, King Perseus, and spun a wicked lie, accusing Bellerophon of the exact crime he'd refused to commit. Perseus was furious, but his hands were tied. Killing a guest under his own roof was a major sin, one that would surely call down the Furies, the terrifying goddesses of vengeance. So, stuck between his wife's thirst for revenge and his fear of the gods, Perseus came up with a cowardly plan. He wouldn't kill Bellerophon himself, but he'd make sure someone else did. He called the hero in and tasked him with delivering a message to his father-in-law, King Iobates of Lycia. He handed Bellerophon a folded wooden tablet, sealed shut. Bellerophon, suspecting nothing, took the job. He had no idea he was carrying his own death warrant. Scratched into the wax was a simple, chilling instruction for Iobates. Pray remove the bearer from this world. With that royal treachery, Bellerophon was sent on a journey no one expected him to come back from. Part 3. The Quest for a Divine Steed. The Quest for a Divine Ally. Bellerophon sailed across the sea to Lycia, in what is now Turkey, and arrived at the court of King Iobates. Following the laws of hospitality, Iobates welcomed the stranger with open arms, feasting him for 9 straight days and nights. Only on the 10th morning did he finally ask to see the message. When Iobates broke the seal and read the words from his son-in-law, he must have felt a cold dread. He was now in the exact same bind as Perseus, honor-bound not to harm the guest he'd just feasted for over a week, but pressured by his own family to execute him. Like Perseus, Iobates looked for a loophole. He needed a task so impossible, so deadly, it would do the dirty work for him, and he had just the thing. The land of Lycia was being terrorized by a monster of unspeakable horror, a creature so unnatural it was considered an insult to the gods. He summoned Bellerophon and gave him his mission. He had to slay the Chimera. The Chimera was a literal nightmare. As the poet Hesiod described it, it was a grotesque mashup with the head of a lion, the body of a goat with a second goat head sprouting from its back and a venomous snake for a tail. And the worst part? It breathed a torrent of unstoppable fire that scorched the earth and incinerated anyone who got close. Bellerophon knew facing this thing on foot was suicide. He needed a miracle. He needed an edge no other mortal had. He needed the untamable winged horse Pegasus. Pegasus himself was a creature of myth, having sprung from the neck of the Gorgon Medusa when Perseus killed her. Desperate, Bellerophon went to the wisest seer in Lycia, Polyidus, who told him that to tame a divine horse, he'd need divine help. Polyidus instructed him to sleep on the floor of the temple of Athena, the goddess of wisdom. Bellerophon did as he was told. In his sleep, the goddess appeared to him in a dream, holding out a magnificent golden bridle. She told him to take it, sacrifice a white bull to his father Poseidon, and show the bridle to Pegasus. When Bellerophon woke with a jolt, he found the impossible lying beside him on the cold stone floor, a real solid, gleaming golden bridle. He knew what to do. He went to the sacred spring of Perine near Corinth, a favorite watering hole for Pegasus. And when the magnificent winged horse swooped down to drink, Bellerophon approached, not with force, but with Athena's gift. The golden bridle seemed to calm the wild beast instantly, and Bellerophon slipped it over its head without a fight. In that moment, a hero born of a sea god tamed a creature born from a monster's blood. Mounted on the back of Pegasus, Bellerophon flew toward Lycia. He wasn't a desperate exile anymore. He was a warrior with the power of flight, ready to face it. Part 4. The Dragon Slayer. Confrontation with the antagonist. With the wind roaring past him and the power of Pegasus under him, Bellerophon soared back to Lycia. He found the Chimera in its wasteland, the ground blackened and sterile from its fiery breath. The monster was even more horrifying up close. Its lion head roared with infernal rage, while its serpent tail hissed, flicking venom. From its main mouth, it spewed a constant jet of flame that turned the air into a furnace. The battle began in the sky. Using the incredible agility of Pegasus, Bellerophon swooped and dodged, looking for a weakness. He fired arrows, but they just bounced off the creature's thick hide. He tried to get close with his spear, but the monster's flames kept him at bay, merely singing Pegasus's wings with every pass. The Bellerophon wasn't just a warrior. He was clever, a trait favored by his patron goddess, Athena. As he dodged another fiery blast, a brilliant and risky idea hit him. It was a strategy born of pure genius and desperation. He took a large block of lead and jammed it onto the tip of his spear. His plan was as deadly as it was simple. He urged Pegasus into a steep head-on dive, flying straight for the Chimera's roaring, fire-spewing mouth. The monster opened its jaws wide to roast the hero. At the last possible second, Bellerophon thrust his spear with all his might, lodging it deep inside the creature's throat. Then, Pegasus veered sharply away, carrying them clear of the beast's death throes. The effect was instantaneous and gruesome. The Chimera's own fire, its greatest weapon, became its doom. The intense heat melted the lead, sending a river of molten metal pouring down its gullet. The lead coated its lungs and organs, choking off its breath and extinguishing its internal flame from the inside out. The monster shuddered, its roars turning to gurgles, before it finally crashed to the ground, dead. Bellerophon had done the impossible. He returned to King Iobates not as a casualty, but as the savior of Lycia, the legendary Chimera slayer. The king could only stare in stunned silence, his clever plan to get rid of the hero completely and utterly shattered. Part 5. The hero's burden, the aftermath, and further trials. King Iobates was floored. The hero he'd sent to certain death was standing before him, victorious. But the king's suspicion wasn't so easy to shake. Convinced Bellerophon's victory was a fluke, or that maybe the hero was some kind of dark power himself, Iobates cooked up a new set of impossible tasks to finally get rid of him. First, he ordered Bellerophon to fight the Salimi, a fierce mountain tribe known for their brutality. But what good is an army on the ground against a hero who commands the sky? Riding Pegasus, Bellerophon flew over the Salimi warriors, dropping heavy boulders on them until they broke and ran. Still not done, Iobates immediately sent him to fight the legendary Amazons, the warrior women feared throughout the ancient world. Next verse, same as the first. Bellerophon and Pegasus were an unstoppable whirlwind of death from above that even the Amazons couldn't counter. He returned to Lycia, victorious yet again. Now truly desperate, Iobates resorted to a good old-fashioned ambush, setting his own royal guard on Bellerophon. But even that failed spectacularly. Some say his divine father, Poseidon, sent a flood to wash the assassins away. After this final failure, King Iobates finally got it. This was no ordinary man. Bellerophon was clearly favored by the gods. Humbled, the king showed Bellerophon the sealed letter from Perseus, revealing the treachery that had started it all. Iobates begged for forgiveness and offered Bellerophon the highest honors he could: marriage to his daughter, Philano, and half his entire kingdom. Bellerophon, the disgraced exile, had finally reached the peak of mortal success. He was a hero, a king, husband to a princess, and a father. He had fame, wealth, and power. He had beaten every monster and every enemy. But the greatest monster he would ever face was the one starting to grow inside his own heart. Part 6. The Fall from Grace, Hubris, and Downfall. In the years that followed, Bellerophon became a living legend. His name was famous across Greece. He was the man who tamed Pegasus and slew the Chimera. But with that fame came a creeping poison: hubris. It's the fatal pride that brings down so many Greek heroes, the arrogance that makes a mortal forget his place. Bellerophon started to see his achievements not as gifts from the gods, but as something he alone had earned. He forgot that Athena gave him the golden bridle to tame Pegasus. He forgot that Poseidon may have saved him from that ambush. In his mind, the glory was all his. He started to believe he wasn't just a man loved by the gods, but their equal. This pride festered, and soon he grew bored with his mortal life. What was ruling half a kingdom on earth compared to the splendor of Olympus? In one last, breathtaking act of arrogance, Bellerophon decided to just go claim his seat among the gods. He mounted his faithful friend Pegasus and spurred him into the sky, leaving the mortal world behind as he soared toward the heavens. Up on his golden throne, Zeus watched this stunt with growing rage. The sheer audacity of this mortal was an insult to the entire divine order. You don't just demand a spot in the club of the gods. So, with a flick of his will, Zeus sent a tiny, insignificant creature to deliver his judgment. A single gadfly. The insect buzzed toward Pegasus and gave him a sharp, painful sting. Startled and in agony, the winged horse bucked hard, throwing its master from its back. Bellerophon, the great hero, the man who could fly, came tumbling back to the earth he had so arrogantly tried to leave behind. But the gods didn't grant him the mercy of a quick death. According to some accounts, his fall ended in a thicket of thorns that blinded and crippled him. Pegasus, now free, continued his flight to Olympus, where he was welcomed into Zeus's stables and given the honor of carrying the gods' thunderbolts. But Bellerophon was left broken and alone. Cursed by the gods and shunned by mortals, he spent the rest of his life as a wretched wanderer. Blind, lame, and consumed by grief, he roamed the wandering plain, a name that perfectly matched his miserable fate, left to devour his own soul. So, what do you think of Bellerophon's fate? Was his punishment deserved, or did Zeus go too far? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed digging into the complex heroes of Greek myth, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more tales from the ancient world. The story of Bellerophon isn't just an adventure tale. It's a deep and tragic look at the razor's edge between heroism and hubris. Unlike Hercules, who endured his trials and eventually earned his place on Olympus, Bellerophon let his victories corrupt him. He started to see himself not as a mortal blessed by the gods, but as a god trapped in a mortal's body. His downfall is one of the most powerful warnings from the ancient world. It's a timeless reminder that our greatest strengths can hide our deepest flaws, and that the biggest battles we ever fight are usually with ourselves. Bellerophon, the first great dragon slayer of Greece, is remembered not just for the incredible heights he reached, but for the devastating depths to which he fell, a mortal who touched the heavens, only to be cast down to a lonely and broken earth forever.